the heart of this nation, under skies so blue,
there's a spirit that's stirring, values strong and true.
from the mountains to the prairies, from the cities to the sea, we stand for liberty, for faith and family. We're diving deep into the heart of what we believe.
Okay, let's unpack this. We've got a story that really, well, it just hit us like a bolt of lightning unfolding in Texas.
Yeah, on the 4th of July, 2025, right?
Exactly. It started as a report of a police officer shot near an ICE facility that's U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement down in Alvarado.
Mm-hmm.
But as we started digging into the source material we have, it quickly became something far more unsettling.
Yeah.
We're talking about what authorities are calling a planned ambush on federal officers.
Right.
So our mission today is to really get into the specifics, drawing solely from this source material to understand what they meant by an organized ambush.
Right.
What immediately jumped out, the initial report was the sheer level of preparation. Suspects wearing body armor, masks.
Heavily armed, too.
Heavily armed, yeah, and some apparently even covered in mud.
Okay.
It's strange.
It is. Very specific detail.
And then there were these flyers found right there at the scene with phrases like resist fascism, fight oligarchy, and fight IC terror. Sounds like something out of a movie almost.
It really does. But it was very real. And what's fascinating here is how those initial details, as concerning as they were, really feed into what the authorities revealed later.
Okay, like what?
Well, acting U.S. Attorney Nancy Larson, she made a pretty significant announcement. She basically clarified this was not a peaceful protest in any way.
Right. She drew a clear line.
A very clear line. She said, and this is a direct quote from the source, "It was a planned ambush with the intent to kill ICE corrections officers."
Wow. Intent to kill. That changes everything.
It absolutely does. Not just some spontaneous act, And the scale of the charges, that highlights the gravity, too. Attempted murder against 10 individuals.
10.
10. And an 11th person charged as a co-conspirator.
So a significant group involved.
Definitely suggests organization. And it also brought in the FBI Dallas SAC Rothrock. That's the special agent in charge. He was also at the press conference when they announced the charges.
Okay, so federal involvement right away.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, in this deep dive, we're going to try and dissect the events, the tactics they apparently used, and, the official response, all based purely on what's in our source material, to really get a handle on this organized ambush idea.
That really does underscore the seriousness. So, okay, let's go back to the scene itself. What more did the source actually reveal about the sequence of events? How did this alleged, calculated sequence play out? From the initial report to the actual gunfire.
Well, the source lays out a series of actions that seem quite deliberate. It apparently began with fireworks.
Fireworks? Like celebratory?
Not exactly. The purpose, at least as identified by authorities in the source, was specifically to draw unarmed ICE employees outside the facility.
Okay, like a lure.
Exactly. Creates a distraction, maybe potential targets. Then, immediately after this lure tactic, the assailants apparently started spray painting messages.
The ones we mentioned. Traitor. Ice P Pig.
Yeah, those kinds of messages, right on the building and vehicles. And then, when an Alvarado police officer arrived on scene, they were met with immediate gunfire. Just bang.
So lure, vandalism, then shooting at the first sign of law enforcement.
That's the sequence described. It really suggests, a pre-planned progression, not something that just erupted spontaneously.
Right. It paints a pretty clear picture of intent there. And you mentioned earlier the suspects being heavily armed, body armor, the mud. What did the source tell us about their appearance and equipment? Any other details pointing to how prepared they were?
Oh, absolutely. The source detailed that these individuals weren't just, carrying guns. They were heavily armed, specifically mentioned various weapons, and wearing body armor and masks, which, that's a pretty clear indicator of planning, right? And wanting anonymity.
Definitely not casual protest gear.
Not at all. And that detail about some being covered in mud, it kind of suggests they might have been maybe positioned somewhere or moved through terrain to hide their approach.
Tactical movement, perhaps?
Could be. It suggests this wasn't just a gathering. It was equipped, really, for a confrontation.
Right. And those flyers again. Resist fascism, fight oligarchy, fight IC terror. The source connects those directly to the actions.
Yeah, the source presents them as found at the scene, explicitly linking the actions to these specific ideological grievances. They weren't just, random slogans dropped there.
Okay. That level of detail, it really makes the official ambush description land harder. You mentioned acting U.S. Attorney Larson's strong statement, the FBI's involvement.
Mm-hmm.
How did the official response actually evolve from that first police report? And what does the source say about the scale of the federal charges these folks are facing now?
Well, the response, as the source describes it, it escalated rapidly. From what started as a local police matter, it became a full-blown federal investigation pretty quickly.
Because of the target, presumably. Federal officers, federal facility.
Exactly. That seems to be the key. U.S. Attorney Larson's press conference with the FBI Dallas SAC right there beside her, it really signaled the federal government viewing this as a direct attack on its people and its operations.
And the charges reflect that.
Hugely. The charges mentioned are incredibly severe. Attempted murder of a federal officer.
Mm-hmm.
That carries the potential for, very long prison sentences.
Yeah, that's major.
And the fact that it's 10 individuals charged with attempted murder, plus that 11th co-conspirator, it really underscores how the authorities, based on the source, perceive the organized nature and the severity of the threat.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what we've learned from digging into this source is how quickly a report of suspicious activity can morph into a major federal investigation, uncovering what authorities flat out called a planned ambush.
Yeah, with explicit intent to harm federal officers.
Right. And the coordinated nature, as laid out in the source, that's particularly chilling. Using fireworks as a lure for unarmed employees, then immediately spray painting things like traitor and icy pig on the building, on vehicles.
Marking territory almost.
Yeah. And then the immediate gunfire when the responding officers showed up. It just feels like a very calculated sequence.
It does seem that way based on the description.
Leading to these severe federal charges, including attempted murder. And the source, importantly, it does place this incident within a wider context, mentioning other recent violence directed at federal facilities, like near Texas Border Patrol and in Portland.
Right. It notes that context.
So what does all this mean for you, the listener? Well, it means really understanding the difference between protest and what federal authorities are describing here as a calculated attack, and just how quickly things can escalate when intentions allegedly turn violent, as this source details.
And that really raises an important question, doesn't it? When you consider all the details presented in this source, from the specific tactics like luring, right through to the explicit intent to kill federal officers, what does that suggest about maybe the evolving challenges that law enforcement and federal agencies face in terms of managing public dissent, ensuring security at their facilities, especially in today's environment? It's something to think about.
In the heart of this nation, under skies so blue, there's a spirit that's stirring, values strong and true. From the mountains to the prairies, from the cities to the sea, we stand for liberty, for faith and family. We're diving deep into the heart of what we believe. Conservative values in our souls, they're interweaved. With courage and with honor, we'll hold our ground. For freedom, for tradition, in this land we found. We cherish our Constitution, the words that set us free, the right to bear arms, to speak and to agree. We honor our forefathers who fought with steadfast might for the dream of a nation shining bright in the night. In every town and village, in every heart and home, we'll uphold our principles. Together we'll roam through To the strong, to the free, to the spirit that binds us from sea to shining sea. We'll dive deep into our values, hold them close and true. For conservative hearts, there's no limit to what we can do. We're diving deep into the heart of what we believe. Conservative values in our souls, they're interweaved. With courage and with honor, we'll hold our ground. For freedom, for tradition, in this land